If you're planning a trip to La Fortuna, Costa Rica, there are so many fun things that you can do. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through some of my favorite experiences, whether that's ziplining through the rainforest, the Mystico Hanging Bridges, whitewater tubing, kayaking on Lake Arenal, and two very different hot spring experiences. And I wanna share with you all of the things that I wish I knew so that you can be a smart traveler coming up. And if you're new here, I'm Christine Lozada. Planning Costa Rica was a little bit more tricky than I thought it would be. It's not as straightforward as other vacations I love to do. And so book your Costa Rica trip with us, whether it's our amazing packages or we can custom build something so that you can have the best vacation possible. Because let's dive straight into it with the top thing you have to do at any level, which is ziplining. Ziplining in La Fortuna is a must-do, and there's a reason why everyone does it. It's just such a fun adventure, and one of the top misperceptions is that like, oh, what if I'm scared of ziplining, or oh, like I'm not that adventurous. You can kind of pick and choose the operator based off of what you're looking for, right? How many lines are they? Like how adventurous or how scary is this, or how intense is this going to be? Or how much hiking is this gonna be, etc., etc. So you can kind of pick and choose based off of what you need. But for me, in my experience, it went like this. I was really surprised because Costa Rica emphasizes safety in ziplining significantly more than I anticipated. And so even though I did a much more adventurous ziplining course, it felt great the entire time. There was a decent amount of walking, and one of the things that I think matters is what time of day you go, right? Because if you're going like midday, it might be really, really hot, or you might consider, right, what time of day will it be when it's not raining? This is not the type of activity you want to do in the pouring rain. And a few helpful things for me. One is that I wanted to make sure my phone was secure. And so you don't want things dropping, right, while you're out on the zip line. So doing something, whether you're putting your phone on some kind of string or you're not even bringing it, or fill in the blank, like make sure your phone is secured, or your camera, depending on what you're filming with. The other thing is shoes. Socks with shoes is a must because you're doing a lot of walking around. And also when you're when you're on the zip line, you don't want your shoes to fall off if you're wearing flip-flops, for example. And lastly, you're wearing a helmet. So whether you're putting on a bandana over your head or wearing a hat underneath, that might be a nice thing for underneath your helmet. These items help me to feel more comfortable. But ziplining was so much fun. It's definitely something I definitely recommend. Tell me in the comments below if it's something that's interested in you. And let's talk about the next one, which is the Mystico Hanging Bridges. This is one of those experiences that can feel like just a walk, or it could feel like one of the most memorable things that you do. Because if you do it right, in other words, you do it with a guide, you can kind of understand what you're looking at and you can find the cool creatures and things to like see, especially with the telescope,
microscope, binoculars, the thing you're looking at things closely with.
And it just makes it a significantly better experience. And if you're wondering, like, what kinds of things are you seeing? Like, this isn't the place where you're gonna see like a million monkeys. You might see some monkeys, but you're generally gonna find like really cool birds, like little tiny frogs, different kinds of insects. Like, there's a lot of things to see, but this is not like where you're gonna see a million sloths and things like that. But still amazing to have a guide so that you can kind of walk through this experience, understanding what you're looking at. There are a few helpful tips that might make your experience of Mystico Bridges a little bit better. One of them is knowing that it's not flat. Depending on the route that you go, it can be like a couple miles with some hills. So wearing like good footwear and making sure you're bringing water and things to stay cool, maybe layers, will be really helpful. The second thing is the bridges themselves. They really are magical and beautiful. I'm afraid of heights, I'm gonna be totally honest, I'm afraid of heights. But if you are afraid of heights, it's one where you're gonna wanna hold on tight, but it's one where the bridges themselves, they actually do move a lot. And so if there's lots of people on the bridge, this is not a place to bring like a stroller, for example. It's one where you need like good footing and good footwear and like the ability to cross over an area that is like unstable footing. But the other thing is that if there's too many people and the crowds are too big, the lines for the bridges can be really, really long. And so consider going at a time in which there might be fewer people. Obviously your guide can help you with this, but going also at a time where it won't be so crazy hot is another great idea. This is a place that I would consider going to if it was like light raining or misting, but if it was like straight up pouring rain, I don't think I would do this experience. But Mystico Hanging Bridges is an amazing one to check out. This next one is whitewater tubing, but if you're getting some value out of this video, cheers that like button, consider subscribing, and this is part of an entire playlist. Make sure you check the info in the description and book your Costa Rica trip with us. Not only do we have well-priced packages, but we also create custom trips. This is your vacation, make it epic. And one way you can make it epic, is doing the whitewater tubing. So let's talk about it. Let's start with what this is not. Whitewater tubing is not this chill river float. It is adventurous, and how adventurous it is depends on how much water is in the river. So what I mean by that is if it's rained a ton and the waters are raging, Costa Rica actually really does emphasize safety. I mean, you got to go with the right operators. We can help you with that. But they will make sure you're not going if it's treacherous out there. It's not in their interest to put you in treacherous water with their guides who have to save you. And so if it's been raining a lot, the waters might be moving a little bit faster. If the water levels are lower, then it might be a smoother ride. So that's just one thing to consider. So similar to the ziplining, you are wearing closed-toe shoes, right? You're in the water, but you're wearing closed-toe shoes. And that's because you're kicking off of the rocks. And wearing like water shoes, for example, is a really great thing to bring for this. I have a whole Costa Rica pack list, so that's one that you should consider in the description below. The next thing is that you're wearing a helmet, right, for safety. And so you're in this little tube, but you're kind of like bouncing around the rapids, but you're wearing shoes and you're wearing a helmet. And the other thing is that, yeah, you're wearing a life vest, but you are in cooler, not cold or freezing, but you're in cooler water, and I'm wearing a bathing suit or just dry fit that you can get wet in. And so just know that this is not one where you like might get wet, you are getting wet. This was one of my most favorite things to do. It was really, really adventurous. But this next one, which is kayaking on Lake Arenal, was also one of my favorites, and for completely the opposite reason. When I went, it just felt like such a serene experience. This is a lake where there aren't like a million people on it. And so it was a quieter activity. And the other thing about it is that you have that volcano in the background, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is one where I was like, I wonder what it would be like kayaking if it was raining. So even like during tubing and during kayaking, it rained during both. And it honestly made it a more magical experience. I kind of feel like there's a lot of times when I'm vacationing and I'm like, I hope it doesn't rain today, but like you can more or less, depending on the time of year you go, and we'll talk about that at the end of this video, depending on the time of year you go, you may or may not experience rain. And it could potentially add to your experience. Just make sure you have the proper clothing, attire, etc. So make sure you check that pack list. So there's a couple things to know about kayaking that's helpful. One is with the guide, I didn't realize that there was like so much history about this area, and being able to hear it while kayaking over those areas or next to those areas was just really fascinating. And so there's much more to this than just kayaking out on the water. The second thing is I talked about how the volcano makes it really special. Sadly, the volcano is not guaranteed. And so especially if it's really, really foggy or something like that, you may or may not be able to see the volcano. So if that's something you really care about, consider the time in which you go so you can make sure you have that view. The next thing is that there isn't necessarily like a path, like you're going like in this specific area to kayak and coming back. Like it kind of depends on your ability. So for me, because I was on a private tour, book your Costa Rica trip with us, I was able to determine what path I wanted to go on. And I was like, I want to kayak as fast as I can and try to get all the way to the volcano before it's time to turn around. So we talked about the history and kayaked super hard, as close to the volcano as possible. The rain came in. I was kind of like, is this a good idea? And then we turned around and came back. But there isn't necessarily a specific path you're going on when you do this tour. Definitely a pretty one and one to consider. All right, let's talk about one of the most important things that you can do in La Fortuna and should do, which is hot springs. And I didn't understand. I was like, is hot springs a Costa Rica thing or is hot springs a La Fortuna thing? And it's a La Fortuna thing. So I'm going to talk to you about hot springs, and then we're going to talk about like some general tips about La Fortuna so that you can be a smart traveler. So the first thing to know about hot springs is that not all of them are the same. They're all really different from each other, whether it's they're different because they're natural versus man-made. That's one big thing. Another one might be like the size, right? How big is the hot spring? Is it a smaller hot spring, or is it like a huge facility with lots of hot springs? Another one might be like, what kind of vibe is it? Oh, this is known as the family-friendly hot spring, or this is known as the relaxing hot spring that has the adults-only area, or this is the fill in the blank, right? So all the hot springs kind of have a different thing that they offer, and picking the right one for you is important, because the other thing is that they're not necessarily inexpensive. For me personally, when I think hot spring, I think natural hot springs, really hot, fresh water, and like serene peace, like not quiet, obviously, because you hear the sound of the rushing water of the hot springs. And I think about like the less people, the better, right? That's how I envision like the perfect hot spring, which is why I really wanted to spend a portion of my stay at Tabacón. This is, in my opinion, the best hot springs in the area. And when you stay at Tabacón Resort, you get access to their hot springs, which is such a humongous space that it's actually separate from where the hotel resort area is at. I also stayed somewhere else while I was at Kioro, while I was in La Fortuna, so those videos are in the playlist, don't miss them. So one of the key things about Tabacón is it's a place you can spend a lot of time. I mean, they have a place with lockers and you can store your stuff, and they have a restaurant, and it's just an experience where you could literally be there all day. They have lots of relaxing spaces, and they also have lots of options for their hot springs. Whether you're down at the bottom and like more like chilling at the pool and having drinks, or you're moving up to the rushing hot springs that are more waterfall-like and have a lot of water pressure going on. Or maybe you're going all the way to the top to the area that's adults only, and you can have food and beverages and the adults only hot springs that are up there. There's just a lot of options on how to spend your time at Tabacón, and it's just, in my opinion, one of the best places to truly relax and feel like you're on vacation. Because one of the things about it is like, because it's so big, I was always able to find somewhere in Tabacón where I could be alone and have my own hot springs. And so one of the things that's great about staying at the property is that you get additional hours that aren't available to the general public. They also have shuttles that are going to and from the actual resort. And so these things helped me to have a better experience. But even if you're not staying there, it can still be a really amazing experience for you. The other place that I went to was Titoku. And the reason why I chose this spot is because when you stay at Tabacón, they have a partnership with them and you can get in for free. And so I was like, oh, well, I want to try it out to see like what's the difference between these hot springs. And the thing about Titoku is that it's on the main road. And on that main road, like you can literally stand on the street and be like, there's a hot spring, or sign for a hot spring area. There's a hot spring, there's a hot spring, there's a hot spring. And it's just like in this hot area of lots of hot springs. I didn't mean to say that. Anyway, you get it. There's lots of hot springs over there. And so the thing about Titoku is that it's smaller. There's still like, you know, locker rooms and a bar area, but there's significantly fewer hot springs, and it's not a place that I would spend all day, but that's just me personally. It was definitely smaller, and it didn't feel as special. There's something about Tabacón with like the lush, you like literally feel like you're in the rainforest and going into the hot spring, right? That's not the way you feel at Titoku. And in that area is a lot of other hot springs that are, you know, the family-friendly vibe, right? All the other types of hot springs that I talked about. I do think though that Titoku still provides a relaxing soak in the hot springs. So that's definitely guaranteed. And in case you don't know this, there's two helpful things to know about hot springs. One is the higher up you go, the hotter it is, versus the lower you go, the I want to call it cool, but cooler it is. The other thing is like, this is such a good activity for Costa Rica. Why? Because rain or shine, the hot springs are magical. And in my opinion, like, because you're in the hot springs getting drenched anyway, like if it's pouring rain outside, it's actually really magical. So I just shared with you the activities in La Fortuna that I felt were absolutely worth it. There's so many other things, and make sure you check out the full podcast where I talk with Diana. Book your Costa Rica trip with us. It is your vacation. You want to make sure it's exactly what you envisioned, and our packages are actually well priced, or we can custom create something perfect for you. But we offer more ideas of other things you can do in the area depending on what kind of traveler you are. But let's talk about some of the helpful tips to know about La Fortuna that might help you to understand traveling to this area. The first thing to know is that the La Fortuna area, right, this is up north in Costa Rica. And it's really your gateway town to the Arenal Volcano National Park. And so it's just views of the volcano, being around that volcano is really like that backdrop that makes La Fortuna so special. And so you have this mix of, we talked about the hot springs, right? We have the mix of the hot springs, the beautiful volcano, you got that rainforest vibe going on, and you also have just like tons of adventure activities all within a 30-minute drive. How much time should you spend in this area? Generally around 3 to 5 days for most people, not everyone, most people is what pairs well with relaxing in the hot springs. It's also helpful to know that May to November is their wet season, and December to April is their dry season. But right, it's a rainforest, so there's always gonna be some rain. It's also helpful to know that generally the temperature is around like 88, I don't know, high 80s during the day, and around like 70s or in the nighttime. So that's what you can expect out of La Fortuna. You got a helpful pack list and a full playlist all in the description available to you. I'm Christine Lozada. Book your Costa Rica trip with us, and I'll see you in the next video in this playlist. Ciao.